How's everyone's day's been so far?
It's been fun, Taylor. How's yours?
It's been tired. I'm like dead inside, but I'm pretty excited for the workshop.
Hey Alex.
Hey, man. How's it going?
So this really cute guy started following me on Instagram.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I also saw some cute guy, follow me back.
Yeah,
That was interesting.
just wanted to share.
Yeah, same, dude.
I'm really jealous. What the heck?
Very happy for you too.
Just drop your handle.
We dropping Instagrams in chat.
Look at that.
Oh my gosh, we're not doing any blogs. We're doing Instagrams. Oh jeez. All right, let's get started. So, welcome everyone to our Wireshark workshop with a pretty awesome networking lab afterwards. The sign-in link is on the screen, but I know like some people linked in the chat, so I'm gonna just link it there again in case you need to sign in. Yeah, once again, there's no form you need to fill out. You just need to click the link and it'll just track your attendance on my bar. Yeah, so let's get started. So I'm going to be the main one presenting about the Wireshark. But then for the networking lab, I have Robinson and Justin who helped me a lot with creating the lab, and we'll be walking around throughout. We're gonna be opening up breakout rooms like the CCDC practices. So it's going to be pretty fun, and I'm going to have Robinson and Justin help me out with that. So first, we're going to go over how to customize Wireshark, specifically the contents, the column preferences of Wireshark, to really customize it and make it something that you can get lots of valuable information from. Next, we're going to talk about Emotet. Emotet is a virus, and we'll talk more about that. We're going to be analyzing Emotet traffic with Wireshark, and then afterwards, we're going to go into the lab. Okay, so first of all, you're going to need to download this PCAP. Yeah, real malware traffic. It's down. You could, if you follow the instructions. I'm not going to tell you how to like. Well, I am going to tell you how to like download the actual malware, but I'm not going to like actually download it. Okay, for some reason I can't like copy and paste this, so I'll just like go into here, copy and paste this into the chat. So this is going to be the PCAP file of traffic generated from malware. And if you download it, it's going to be a zip file. And in order to extract the contents of it, the password is infected. And this is a PCAP, so it's not a virus of itself, but inside the PCAP contains like traffic that is from a virus. So if you are concerned about getting viruses on your machine, this PCAP shouldn't do anything. But there's like one step that might be concerning. So I'll show you that later. But also for the networking lab, download this OVA. It's a few gigs, so please download it now, so that once we finish the Wireshark portion, we can get right on with the lab. Okay. And that being said, let's go into customizing Wireshark. So I'm going to share my Wireshark. So I'm going to open up Wireshark first. Wireshark, if you don't know what it is a packet sniffer. So you can run Wireshark to capture all the packets going on your machine. And it's like you could see the packets individually. It is really nice to really inspect what traffic is going on in your network. So I'm gonna share that screen. So when you first open up Wireshark, you should see something like this, with this panel showing all the recent PCAPs you've opened and a bunch of interfaces on the bottom here. So we're not going to do any packet sniffing right now, but we are going to be looking at the PCAP file that was linked in the chat. And it should be something like example 1, 2021, 106, Emotet infection.pcap. So once you have that downloaded, you're going to want to go into file, open, and then browse for that. And that might be in your downloads, it might be in a specific directory you put it in, but most of the time it's going to be in downloads. You're going to want to navigate to that window. I don't know if you can see it here because I know you can see it. All right. Yeah, you're going to navigate to your PCAP and open it up. So give it a few seconds for that. And you should see a PCAP file of all of these packets. And there's a lot of them. In fact, there's about 45K packets going through the network in this PCAP. So that's a lot of packets. And we're not going to like individually go one by one. That's gonna be a lot. But first we're gonna have to reorganize and redo some of the columns, because right now it doesn't really give you that much information, like who really needs the number, like the packet number. So there's a lot of things that you can do to clean up your Wireshark interface. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to right click my headers, my fields. I'm going to right click and I'm going to uncheck the numbers because it does not really mean anything and it just takes up extra space. So I'm going to remove that. I'm going to right click again and I'm going to remove protocol. This is also sort of redundant and not needed because it just takes up some space, and most of the times they're going to be using filters to look at specific protocols, so you won't really need a tag or a field for that. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to uncheck protocol, and I'm also going to uncheck length because none of that really matters. So once again, I unchecked number, protocol, and length. I'm going to keep all of the other ones because those are the ones that we want to look at. Everyone good so far? All right, cool. So next I'm going to go into column preferences. So I'm going to right click again. And in this menu, I'm going to click column preferences. And you can see another window that shows all the fields for my Wireshark view. So as you can see, the number, the protocol, and the length are all unchecked, but we want to add a few more things. So you can go into the bottom where you see a plus sign, click that, and it's going to give you a new column with the type of number. So I want to add source ports and destination ports because over here you can't see any ports, and ports are kind of important to see from a glance. So I'm going to rename this to source port. I'm actually going to make 2 new columns. So source port and desk port. Source port for source port, desk port for destination port. For the type, I'm going to double click that. Yeah, double click it. And I'm going to scroll down till where it says source port unresolved. And I'm going to click that. Similarly for destination port, I'm going to double click. I'm going to scroll up until I see destination port unresolved. So once again, I added 2 new columns, source port and destination port. And I am assigning the source port to the source port column, and then same thing for destination port. And you can also move these around so you can drag them. And I'm going to drag my source port up to my source address. And then my destination port to the column after destination. And I'm going to press OK. And I have my source port and destination port. And that is pretty nice to know. Okay, so after you get your new columns, you might notice that it looks kind of weird. The source port and the destination port are all right aligned. So if you kind of look at this column, the numbers are on the right side of it, while everything else is towards the left. So what you can do is align left to those specific columns. So I'm going to right click source port, or the column saying source port. I'm going to align left. It's going to kind of move it back to the left so it looks orderly and clean. I'm going to do the same thing to destination port, so it all looks pretty nice. Yeah, so now I just have time, source port, destination port, and info. We're gonna add a few more things, which would make our lives easier in Wireshark. So so I already have my time set to this format, but if you want to set your time to this kind of format, go into view, time display format, and select these 2 options. UTC date and time of day, and then change your measurement to seconds. And that way it kind of gives you a pretty nice way to view the time that things happen in the PCAP. So that is a way to change your time format. Right. One last thing when changing your columns. So for all of these, we have the IP addresses, and IP addresses are useful. But then if we're looking at, there might be a way like for us to want to know what is the exact host name of these. Like, the IP address is this, and it looks like it's going to port 80. So we can say it's like web traffic, but what exactly is the domain name of this IP? So I'm going to type in http.request in the filter so I could just only see web requests. And I'm going to move this up a little bit, and I'm going to drop down this hypertext transfer protocol field. And it looks like it has a host parameter. And what I can do in here, and you can do this for like kind of everything as well, is to add the specific thing as a column. So like within this hypertext transfer protocol info, you can add specific things as columns. So I'm going to add hosts, this host column, to my Wireshark interface by right-clicking on here, and I'm going to apply as column. And it shows the host names associated with the IP addresses of the destination. So from a quick glance, you can see all these domain names popping up. Sometimes it doesn't do it, but most of the time it does, and that's pretty nice. So you go into HTTP requests, you go to drop down menu, and you click on host, and then you apply as column. There's another thing. So for HTTPS traffic, it's not as easy to try to get the domain name, and it has a little bit more things to it. So I'm going to type in ssl.handshake.type == 1, and I'll just put it in the chat because it's a little lot to type in. Yeah, so this is also going to show HTTPS requests. So the first command or the first filter we used was for web, like HTTP requests, which is insecure web requests. But for SSO, which is part of HTTPS, we're looking at HTTPS requests now. So if you want to get the hosts column for this type of traffic, we're going to have to type in that filter. And then we're going to have to drop down menu on transport layer security, drop down menu on TLS version 1.2, and then drop down menu on handshake protocol. And then once you see the server name, you want to drop that down. Server name indication extension, you want to drop that down. And the host name is under server name. So I'm just going to right click that and apply it as column as well. So now I have both host names for HTTPS traffic. And if I type in or HTTP request, I could see both HTTP domain names and HTTPS domain names. And to briefly describe the filter I have, SSL handshake type == 1 looks for HTTPS traffic, HTTPS requests, I mean, or I could look at regular HTTP requests, and it's going to display both because of this OR keyword. By the way, if anyone has any good Wireshark cheat sheets, then you can link them. I know like Tay linked them on Tuesday, I think. So that's pretty good to use. All right, so that is it for customizing Wireshark so that you can get all the information, the important information from a glance. Because like the normal Wireshark columns are kind of trash, so you want to customize it so it's like actually good. All right, let's move on to okay, actually first, does anyone have any questions? Okay, I'm gonna move on. Yep, thanks Tay for the cheat sheet, pretty nice. All right, now let's look at Emotet traffic. I'm gonna reshare the slides. So Emotet traffic, or what the heck is Emotet? Emotet is a Trojan that is used to compromise machines, and it's usually done through phishing emails. So you could click on the link in an email and it like does really bad stuff to your machine. And some of the ways that it gets delivered is through it used to be like just like regular files, but then now it's used to distribute the virus through macros on Word documents or Microsoft documents. So basically, like what macros are is like kind of like automation things in your Word or Excel files, and it's kind of like a way to like execute code. And it's used for automation, but it could also be used to like deliver payloads and do hacking. So Emotet's like a very special virus, and it connects to like a C2 server somewhere. So this is not like eternal blue, where you can like do it on your own. When we talk about Emotet, it's more like a virus from like an APT, advanced persistent threat, and it's kind of like a real life thing where actual machines are connecting to like a random IP on the internet, and the IP is going to be like and like all basically like majority of the machines connected, or majority of the machines that are infected by Emotet are going to call back to like a few C2 servers, C2 meaning command and control servers. So this is a PCAP where we can see all of that happening. Yeah, and these are the different ways that Emotet can be delivered. You could just have a Word doc. You can have a zip archive that opens up a Word doc, a PDF file that opens up a Word doc. But yeah, basically, the main thing is that macros on a Word doc allow it for it to be downloaded. And this is sort of how this is how Emotet works. So you go into the Word document, it's gonna like ask you to like enable macros. So if you're like an unsuspecting individual and you want to open up and you're like, okay, I can't see it, so it's gonna like show me that error. I want to enable it, and you enable it, and then it actually runs the macros, and it delivers a hold on. It delivers a what's up, Luis? Oh, okay.
Hello.
Hi. So the macro downloads a binary onto your machine, and that binary is like the initial foothold for the attackers. And after getting the initial binary, that's when it connects to the C2 server, and then the attacker can implement more malware. It can use your machine as spam bot, and even like exfil data from your machine. And this initial binary is in the form of a DLL. It used to be exe files, but then I think DLLs are easier to work with in Windows for offensive purposes. Yeah, so once again, the doc is going to initiate web traffic to retrieve the binary, and then the binary is going to allow the attackers to run commands on your machine through a C2 server. The attackers are also going to implement more malware into your system, and if they're going to use your system as a spam bot, it's going to send lots of SMTP traffic. SMTP is a protocol for mail. So whenever you're doing anything with mail, if you run a Wireshark capture, you're going to see lots of SMTP traffic. All right, so let's analyze Emotet. And if you haven't already, please download the PCAP. But I'll also go over it as well. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, cool. All right, awesome. All right, so let's get started with this. So just move my thing over. Okay, my filter was still in place, so I wasn't able to see everything. So if you open up this for the first time, you should see something like this, and it's like a lot of random stuff going on. But let's use filters to simplify our search. So I'm actually just going to share my entire screen because I'm going to flip between multiple screens. Okay, so these are some important filters to know. The basic web filters, and this is pretty nice. So if you want to look at HTTP requests, we're just going to put in HTTP.request. Our HTTPS request, it's tls.handshake.type EQ1. Not sure why it's EQ1, but it works. So we can specify these to look at web requests, but there's another thing with Windows that runs on like web or does something on web traffic. It's called SSDP. Let me do a quick Google search on that. SSDP. It stands for Simple Service Discovery Protocol, and it uses like web traffic to do things, which is weird. So we don't want that. So we're gonna have an exclamation mark to filter out all SSDP traffic. And I'm gonna put this in the chat if you all want to follow along. So I'm just literally gonna copy and paste into here and put enter. So with this filter, we're only going to see web traffic. If you go back to the phases, let's look at the first phase, the web traffic to retrieve the initial binary. And that occurs within these first 5 PCAPs that you see over here, or not PCAPs, packets. So let's look at this last web request. And let's just go into here, right click, follow TCP stream. And what you see in this window is like basically the entire connection happening. TCP stands for transmission control protocol. And basically if a connection is established, it's going to be continually sending traffic over that connection. And this is going to be all of the traffic that it sends. So if we look at this one in particular, again, this is if you go back into here and look at the 5th packet in here, again, follow TCP stream. If you look closely in this line, there's a file name that has a random gibberish with a file extension of DLL. So what this means is that this TCP stream is associated with this file that was downloaded. Oh yeah, and by the way, a lot of these techniques are like pretty useful in CTFs when you have to deal with packet captures. So this is really good information if you want to try out CTFs and look at Wireshark PCAPs and CTFs. Yeah, so we just looked at a connection that involved accessing a website and downloading a DLL file. So what we can do is like since we know that a DLL file was transmitted throughout this PCAP, and I'm gonna do a forewarning here, but don't do this on a Windows machine because you're downloading like actual malware. If you go into File, Export Objects, and HTTP, you look at the one, I don't know, SEO, I don't know, .com, go into here, and this is kind of like the packet that started the connection. And if you want to download the file, you can click on it and go into save. And it's going to save the file under this random name, but this actually is the initial binary. This is actually like the Emotet virus, the Trojan. So I'm not going to do it. And if you're on a Windows machine, be very careful. But that is how you get the malware onto your machine. And if you want to like do more reverse engineering on it, then you could probably do this on like a Linux or a Mac machine where DLL files don't really do anything. But on a Windows machine, it's kind of like probably break your system. So malware creation tutorial sometime. Yeah, we're gonna make malware and hack people. Okay, but yeah, in terms of like CTFs, there might be a question that says, what are the letters on the image? What is the flag? And sometimes the flag is in like a PNG file. And what you would have to do is export objects and then like see if a file was downloaded, and you could probably recover that file. So that is exporting objects in Wireshark. All right, next, let's look at C2 traffic. So this is phase 2 of Emotet. And we're gonna look at post requests because that's how Emotet C2 traffic works, is through post requests. So I'm gonna just put in the filter over here, and I'm gonna just paste it in. And if we look at all the post requests, we can see that it mainly goes into two IPs. One that starts with 167 and another one that starts with 5. So let's like just look at this and I don't know, let's follow the TCP stream, see if we can get anything. So Emotet traffic has two types of post requests. One of the post requests ends with HTTP 1.1, and the other one contains like URL encoded stuff. So what I'm looking at right now, and this is going to the 5.2 machine. I think we could just go on any packet that has 5.2 to whatever as its destination. So I'm just gonna like sort it out here. I'm just gonna right click a random one, follow TCP stream, and you can see that this contains a HTTP 1.1 at the end of the post request. Oh yeah, by the way, HTTP has different types of requests you can do. So when you go to like a website, you are like requesting a web service, a web service. And there are different types of requests that you can do that have different purposes. So most of the time, if you go to a website, you're going to send a GET request because you are getting the information from a website. The post request that we're talking about is like when you submit a form or like a login for a website, because you're kind of like sending information, posting information to the site. So yeah, that's a little brief intro to web requests. But yeah, this is the first request and it ends with the HTTP 1.1 OK. Let's look at the second one. And in order to look at the second one, we're gonna have to just type in URL encoded form in the filter. I'm just gonna put in the chat as well. And by the way, like Emotet is a pretty well-known virus. So all of these techniques are pretty well known and you can Google them, like, you know, Emotet Wireshark analysis, and they're basically like a lot of blogs, a lot of resources, because Emotet's a pretty popular virus, but it's also a really good way to analyze malware. And you know, because we know all about it, it's easy to kind of like see what's going on behind the scenes. So if we look at URL encoded form, there's only 2 packets, which is normal. Let's follow the TCP stream, and it looks very different than the previous one. And it has some URL encoded string. I tried to decode it and it doesn't really do anything. I don't know what it is. But this is the second type of C2 traffic that Emotet has. So the first one contains HTTP /1.1, and the other one contains URL encoded formatted URL encoded data. Yeah, so that is what a C2 traffic looks like. And if we go back to here, it looks like we have 167. Let's do a Google search. I don't really know. I haven't done this yet. So I'm just gonna, what is, okay, I didn't want to do that. I'm just search up the IP, because it might be like a well-known IP that's blocked by companies and other stuff, like a blacklisted IP. Sure. That's weird. Let's look at the other one. See if we find anything. Okay, Alien Vault. Okay, it's okay. Yeah, so I'm not sure about the first type of traffic, but the second type of traffic, or the second part of the traffic, is going to this IP address, which is, I guess, pretty well known as Emotet keylogger. I don't know if it's exactly a keylogger, but it's identifying an IP associated with the host as, Emotet traffic, which is a good sign. Seeing that this PCAP actually reflects the real world. All right, we're not gonna go into 3 and 4, but there is one other thing that we could look at, which is connection attempts from SC2. And we can put in this this filter to look at any retransmitted TCP connections. Let's do a Google search on this. Actually, I'm kind of curious as well. I'm just gonna do this. All right. 46. I'm not gonna type in the IP actually. What is 46.101.0? Okay, looks like DigitalOcean might have stuff. I guess it's like it might have like another Trojan. It's not showing any like Emotet stuff, but I don't think it matters too much. But yeah, this shows like any connection reattempts from the host to a C2 server, and you can do that by using this filter, which I put in the chat. Yeah, and that's mostly about what I'm going to cover with Wireshark. To kind of recap, last page it said something about beacons, like the 46. I'm confused. Okay, going back to Alien Vol. Oh, wait, beacon service? Perhaps. Yeah, so basically, like if you take any like PCAPs or any like traffic logs from some malware, you can like do Google searches to see if it's been there before. And with this 5.2.136.90, it is identified as like a malicious host. Yeah, so it's pretty nice to be able to fact check all of these. Yeah, but basically with Wireshark, it's a packet sniffing tool, and what we did just now is redid all the columns so that we can use our information, our Wireshark information, a lot more efficiently. We looked at Emotet traffic and looked at the different phases of how it works, and we thoroughly inspected the first 2 phases with Wireshark using filters. And a lot of the things that we did in here is pretty transferable to CTFs. And yeah, the main way I got like a lot more well versed with Wireshark is through exercises like these, which I'm going to link a few more resources. So there's one called Malware Traffic Analysis, and yeah, this has a lot of training exercises, like a ton of them, and these are basically all PCAPs, which you can use to go into here. Let's go into here, and it just has questions like, what's the IP address, what's the host name, so very CTF like. And there may or may not be blogs about them, because I don't know this is like a super popular site, but I think for like at least the earlier ones, they're probably going to have some write-ups about it. And there are answers to these, but I don't know if it shows like the method of finding it out, which is like what we want to look at. So malware traffic analysis is pretty good to look at different PCAP exercises. CTFs like NCL has some PCAP Wireshark questions, which are pretty fun. The one I use for this workshop is from Palo Alto Networks. The first one is changing your column display, and the second one is about Emotet itself, and all like the graphics are from it as well. And those two links are actually also linked in this malware traffic analysis. If you go into the tutorial section and look at Emotet infection traffic, it's going to show the Palo Alto site. So those are really good resources to dive in further into learning more about this type of traffic, this type of malware, and seeing like what effects it has, what it does on the network, what the traffic, what the virus does on the network level. But that is basically it for Wireshark. Anyone have any questions?
Yeah, seems pretty straightforward.
All right. Yeah, cool. And like there's going to be a workshop recording. So all of the information should be saved. Okay, cool. Let's take like a 5-minute breather, and then we'll come back and see what the lab's like. And by the way, if you haven't already, please download the lab if you haven't. It's an OVA file, and it's super important, super exciting. So let's check back at 6:50. And then we'll check back.